Okay, so we have, let's try number 1. Okay, we'll skip number 2, but let's do number 1. All right, so use any method. So do any method you want. So all of you try this by yourself right now, okay? Do the box method, do the distributive method, do the FOIL method. I don't care what method you choose. We should all come out to have the same answer. So go. I'll give you about a minute to do this. Once you get your answer, check it with the board. Make sure it's written in standard form, biggest exponent first, then next biggest, then next biggest. If something doesn't line up, maybe double check your work, or maybe I did something wrong. I don't know. Okay. Are there any questions? Your final answer should be v to the third plus 5v squared minus 24v. Are there any questions? You didn't get this answer? Whatever. I think the biggest thing that you need to be careful with is your positives and negatives, because if you mess up, like when you multiply positives and negatives and then you add them or subtract them, then of course you're going to get it wrong. Okay, let's skip number 2. Let's do number 3. Okay, so this one is hard because you have positives and negatives. So use any method you want to. I'm just going to do a different method. I did FOIL, but I'll do the box method this time. But you do any method that you like. The answer's on the board once you think you have the right answer. Okay, so my final answer is 8j to the second power minus 26j plus 21. Did anybody get something different and they're not quite sure why? Okay, then during the level work, guys, that's when you're going to really have to try and make sure that if something's not matching up, then you need to make sure that you ask, okay? Because we are moving on today, all right? It's not going to be like 7.2 lesson C now, okay? All right, let's take a look at number 4. Do you see how number 4 looks different? So you're still multiplying. You're multiplying a binomial, 2 terms, by a trinomial this time. So we had FOIL, we had distributive property, we had the box method. Does anyone know which method is definitely not going to work out of the 3? Owen? FOIL. You cannot FOIL this, okay? FOIL only works if you have 2 terms and 2 terms. Because then you'll have because think to yourself, okay, well, you can do firsts, I guess. You can do outers, but what about inner? Which one is the inners? Because you have 3 on the inside, right? So FOIL does not work. So honestly, if you want to do the box method, great, do the box method, or you can distribute. So I'm going to show you just how to distribute, okay? And I can show you for the next one, the box method. So distributing means take the first term and then multiply, multiply, multiply. All right? So x times x to the second is x to the third. Good job. Okay, now x times 3x is 3x to the second, because there's 2 of them now. So, and it's a plus because it's a positive, 3x squared. And then x times -2 is -2x. Okay, so that's if I take the first term and I multiply it by everything in the second group of parentheses. Now I'm going to take 4. Is this a positive or a -4? Positive, because it says +4. So take +4, multiply, multiply, multiply. You're going to distribute. Okay, so 4 times x squared is 4x squared. It's positive, so I write plus 4x squared. 4 times 3x is 12x. It's a positive, so I write plus 12x. 4 times -2 is -8, so I'm going to write -8. Okay, there are a couple of things for me to combine this time. I have a squared and a squared, and I have a normal x and a normal x. Looks like those are the 2 types of things that I need to combine. So final answer being x to the third. How many squares do I have? 7. 3 plus 4 is 7. So plus 7x squared. How many x's do I have? 10. -2, positive 12. That's plus 10x because that's positive 10. And then -8 at the end. Okay. So that's how I would do it if I have a binomial times a trinomial. Make sure you remember FOIL does not work, okay? So FOIL does not work. All right, let's do one more on the back. Let's do number 6, okay? So we're going to cross out number 5. Let's try number 6. Okay, this one looks a little bit different because now I have a trinomial times a binomial. So you have a couple of choices, okay? Honestly, I'm not going to try to make it any more complicated for myself. So this is how I would do this if I were you, but you don't have to. I would take my first term, multiply, multiply. And then I would take my second term, multiply, multiply. And then I would take my third term. Let me choose a different color. Purple. I would take my third term and then I would multiply, multiply. So do you see how you're still distributing? You're doing the same exact thing. Some of you don't want to do it that way. Some of you would rather go backwards. So some of you would rather go take the -2, distribute, 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 like distribute backwards. And then you would want to take the plus b, distribute, distribute, distribute backwards. That's okay too. You would still get the same thing because notice how every single number is being multiplied by the different thing in the parentheses. I feel like that's kind of confusing to me though because I'm going backwards. So you could, or some of you would want to completely cross out your problem, rewrite it. And you would rewrite it as -2 plus b and then 5b squared minus 4b minus 12. Like you would just completely switch your problem, the 2 parentheses, and then do it exactly like how we did for number 4. Either way works. It just depends on what you prefer, okay? I'm going to do it the first way where I'm just going to take 3 things and distribute 3 things. But you do it however you want to. And let's see if we can come out with the same answer. Okay, did we get 5v to the third minus 14v squared minus 4v plus 24?
Yeah.
Hopefully. Okay, so again, especially you online kids, because you've been very, very quiet. If you have any questions, if you're not getting these answers, please make sure you ask, okay? Because I want to make sure you understand this. This is like the most basic of it, okay? It only gets harder from here. So if you don't understand this and everything after we learn, you're definitely going to be confused because you don't understand this, okay? Because we're going to have to apply this later in future lessons. Okay, one final thing I want to do with you then is your level work. So go ahead and online kids, open up your level work. I will wait for you. I forgot how many questions you had. Wow. Okay. How about we cross out 3, 6, 9, 12? Okay. So go ahead and cross out 3, 6, 9, 12 on your level work. I forgot how many questions you had. That's a lot of multiplying. For some of you who wonder about the fractions, you can always change them to decimals if you want to, as long as they're not repeating, and these aren't repeating. Or you can leave them as fractions and multiply fractions in your calculator, alpha y equals enter. Either one is fine, okay? But the one I wanted to go over with you would be number 15 and 16, okay? So let's just maybe do number 15. It says, write a polynomial that represents the area of the shaded region. So does anyone know, like, how I could find this area? Like, what would I do? Vaughn?
And then the formula, okay, no, there's a formula, I didn't kind of. You just multiply base times x.
So what would I multiply, Vaughn?
So you do 3x minus 8 times x plus 6.
Should I write it with any other special way or just leave it like this? Yes, because it's all of this times all of that. So basically just FOIL, right? After you FOIL or distribute or box method, boom, you're done. And that's it. Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, so you can do that. I don't need to help. I don't need to help you with that. But wait, this one, yikes. Does anyone know how to do this one? Read.
You get the box inside first and find that area, and then find the area outside.
Okay, so Reed said to find the area of the white box and then do what you said?
Find the area of the outside.
Okay, so then find the area of the big box and then what?
I guess even
Well, what do you think?
probably subtract.
Probably subtract. Isn't this area of the shaded region just the area of the gray box, or not gray, I guess maybe area of the big rectangle, and then minus out the area of the small rectangle? Mason, no, you should keep number 13, okay? So we're just crossing out number 3, 6, 9, 12. So we're finding the big area and then subtracting it by this small area. So you would say what? 2x plus 7 times x plus 4 minus x plus 2, x plus 2. Does that kind of make sense what we're doing? Finding the area of the big thing and then subtracting it by the area of the small thing. Now, this is where I'm afraid some of you are going to make a mistake when you subtract. So let's FOIL this first, okay? So if I FOIL or distribute or box method, go ahead and do that. And then go FOIL the second thing. Okay, so do you see what I did? I found this area, I FOILed it, I got this. I found this small one, I FOILed it, I got this. And then I subtract the two. So I'm missing something. Like if I just write it like this, I'm going to get the answer wrong. Does anyone think they know what I'm missing? Read around the,
Two equations.
okay, so parentheses around the two equations. So you're taking this and then you're subtracting it by all of this. Why is it so important for me to take a parentheses here? Because I'm subtracting it by all of this. In other words, if I didn't put a parentheses, like how would the answer have been different? Tessa? I would not be distributing the negative, right? Because technically, if I just didn't put a parentheses, it would just be minus x squared. This would still be plus, this would still be plus, this would still be plus, right? But the fact that I'm subtracting it by all of this means that I have to subtract by all of this, which means I have to put it in parentheses, which means I have to distribute the negative, okay? Then after you distribute the negative, then you just solve it, and then that's your answer, okay? All right. That's all. So, ladies and gentlemen,